What I would like to see more often is a partnership between cybersecurity professionals and people that are and business partners. So we shouldn't think of the cybersecurity personnel as red tape.
IoT devices are useful, as we know, but each new connected device represents a new potential entry point for a cyber attack, driving home the need for stronger cybersecurity protection for all connected devices.
Welcome to the Inside Forbes Councils podcast. Each episode shares transformative insights and advice from members of Forbes Councils, a group of invitation-only communities for successful executives and entrepreneurs. Today we'll hear from Adam Hunt, the CTO and Chief Data Scientist at RiskIQ, and Fredrik Nilsson, VP of Americas for Access Communications. We'll explore the need for good cybersecurity practices, no matter what size a company is. Why cybersecurity professionals need to be seen as business partners, why the rise of IoT devices makes this need even more critical, and the cost of ignoring this issue. The cost of not safeguarding data can be high. There's the obvious cost of remediating the data breach itself, and the brand risk that comes from a loss of consumers' trust. But increasingly, there's another cost: regulatory penalties for failing to safeguard data.
IT professionals across sectors need to work together to employ responsible security practices as the foundation of innovation. When a creative team develops new assets and applications, it should automatically fall under the visibility and purview of the organization's security team.
That's Adam Hunt of RiskIQ.
The way you do that is you start by getting rid of the misconception that proper quality assurance stifles creativity. When a poorly engineered system is the cause of a major disaster, innovation slows to a crawl because an entire team's resources are required to repair damages. An example of this is when we're introducing a new technology in place and that replaces an old technology. The old technology may not be as good in the beginning as the new technology, but the old technology has been tested thoroughly. The known issues are well known, and that in a lot of cases is better than the set of than dealing with new unknowns. Like the unknown unknowns are more dangerous than the known flaws of the existing system. As companies evolve online to make more meaningful touch points for their customers, partners, and employees, they're also creating openings for bad actors to sneak through. Hackers prey on organizations that lack visibility into their attack surface because this allows them to access credentials and sensitive data more easily. Businesses must realize they're vulnerable well beyond the firewall to the far corners of the internet. A company simply cannot have a strong defense if it's not willing to see or doesn't know how to see the deep corners of its own web presence.
What's an example of this where people or organizations may be a bit reckless with their security?
An example of this that we see all the time in our digital footprints are sites that are stood up by using a corporate email address. These sites then get compromised, and we identify these as serving up malware. Often what ends up happening is these are sites that no one's monitoring anymore, no one is protecting anymore, or it was a personal website that was, and that individual used their corporate email address to register that domain. So this is a very interesting scenario that we see often, and it's never, every once in a while, it's the main website. What we see on a day-to-day basis is the edges. It's the stuff that you don't monitor all the time. It's the back doors. It's the open window on the second floor. It's those kind of situations that need the most attention, because this is where threat actors go. They don't go to your main homepage and look for a bottleneck or a vulnerability. They go to the back door. They check to see what else is there that they can compromise.
But web pages aren't the only place where vulnerabilities may give access to hackers.
IoT devices are useful, as we know. They make our lives easier. They make our jobs run more smoothly, and in many cases, they keep us protected. But each new connected device represents a new potential entry point for a cyber attack, driving home the need for stronger cybersecurity protection for all connected devices.
That's Fredrik Nilsson, the VP of Americas for Access Communications.
Access Communications is focusing on enabling a smarter and safer world by creating IoT-based solutions for physical security and business optimizations.
What is an IoT supplier's responsibility? when it comes to keeping their customers protected from cyber attack.
Today, I'm going to share 3 things to consider when thinking about security of IoT devices. Number 1, being responsive is no longer enough. There is an old idiom that goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if you work in the IT industry, complacency, or even fixing things as they break, just isn't good enough. Responding to an attack by patching that vulnerability is a necessary step, but placing emphasis on preventing the next attack is even more crucial. Certainly, vulnerabilities like those that allowed the Mirai virus to spread itself far and wide should be, and have been, addressed by responsible manufacturers, but a truly effective cybersecurity strategy must be broader. Number 2, build a culture of security by getting everyone in the company to buy in. Everyone involved in IoT needs better cybersecurity education. This includes customer, integrators, and the manufacturers. By ensuring that everyone involved in the creation, integration, or deployment of a product or service all understand the importance of cyber, you can make it an integral part of the development process. Ultimately, everyone has a role to play and everyone should understand these roles. Number 3, education is critical for both suppliers and consumers. Building a strong understanding of the cybersecurity challenges facing the IoT world can help suppliers make the right decisions when it comes to protecting their own products. It can also ensure that customers understand which companies are taking this responsibility seriously, fostering long-term trust and strengthening the IoT industry, which depends heavily on consumer and end customer faith. We all have a responsibility to keep devices secure, and suppliers own an appropriate level of care for their customers, themselves, and the greater good.
Fix things even if they're not broken. Build a culture of security by getting everyone in the company to buy in, and educate both suppliers and consumers to help suppliers make the right decisions and to help consumers choose companies that take security seriously. Which begs the question, should consumers hold the brands they use to a higher standard when it comes to cybersecurity?
Absolutely. Customers should hold their e-commerce sites to a much higher standard.
That's Adam Hunt of RiskIQ again.
We're doing more and more business online, and there's more opportunities for customers' personal information to slip through the cracks or slip into the hands of these threat actors. And so I think it's very important for people to hold their e-commerce sites or wherever they do business, whether it's a financial institution, whether it's Amazon, whether it's any of these services that they're using online. They should hold these to very high standards when it comes to security, because and we've seen from the British Airways fine recently that the EU is starting to hold people to that standard as well.
For anyone who doesn't know, British Airways experienced a data breach that compromised the names, addresses, login information, and credit card information for over 500,000 customers. In July of this year, 2019, they were fined nearly $230 million on the premise that companies who are entrusted with personal data have an obligation to protect it.
These e-commerce sites, they've been shown that they have the potential to be fined if someone is able to exfiltrate a lot of personal information. So this is something that they should be aware of. It's no longer the case of, oh, I'm sorry, we lost your credit card information. It's not like we lost your credit card information and the CVV code on the back of your card. We've allowed that to be exfiltrated from our website because of choices that we've made, and they should accept responsibility for that.
What are some of the things companies should be doing with their technology or be looking at now to make sure they're safeguarding their data and avoiding consequences from regulators and consumers?
To really tie innovation and security together, I don't think that it's that far apart. What I would like to see more often is a partnership between cybersecurity professionals and people that are and business partners. So we shouldn't think of the cybersecurity personnel as red tape, someone to have to circumvent, someone to have to like push past. I think this is something that they're just there to help you. Keep the guardrails up, make sure someone doesn't fall off the edge of the cliff. That's really what their position is. And yes, sometimes it can slow things down, but often the benefit of doing it right the first time has huge impacts later on. That adage, what is it? It's slow is smooth and smooth is fast. As long as we only have to do it once, it saves so many headaches. And yes, I've seen this in our own practices where someone just wants to get it done and they can do it faster if they just start from scratch. But in the end, it ends up blowing up, and it's never shorter. It's usually shorter to base the new innovations on something else rather than creating something brand new from scratch. These existing solutions have security in mind, they have scalability in mind, and that's something that we need to take into account when we're innovating scale, security, and impact.
So it's important to understand that cybersecurity personnel aren't trying to make things difficult for the business.
I'd say that don't be afraid of think of things as a partnership. I mean, innovating in a vacuum is just asking for disaster. Everyone has something to contribute, and including more people that have valuable contributions is the way to move forward in a safe and effective manner. Threat actors are constantly looking for the chink in the armor. We need to be aware of that. So work with your cybersecurity professionals when developing new products. They will save you time and money in the long run.
I'd like to thank Adam and Fredrik for their time. The takeaway: cybersecurity is worth taking the time to get right, even if you're a small mom and pop shop. And with IoT devices becoming more ubiquitous, we must take security seriously, lest we give hackers direct access into our homes and personal space. When it comes to product development, even if it seems that cybersecurity personnel are just slowing down innovation or simply getting in the way, they're doing a job too. If everyone adopts proper security from the start, companies can save money in the long run, and given the increase in regulation around data privacy, viewing cybersecurity professionals as business partners could help avoid fines. Well, that's all we have for today. If you're not a member of one of the Forbes Councils and are interested in joining, go to ForbesCouncils.com to see if you qualify. Thank you for listening. Please be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode.